Hi guys, welcome, and who dat? I'm Joe, and today on my channel, Rosenfield 10, we're going to be looking at the Saints roster as it stands right now. We're going to be examining the free agents that we have. Who do we bring back? Who do we let go? And we're going to look at the roster, and we're going to see exactly where the gaping holes are for this team as far as players go. This is a interesting thing to look at when you're in the off season. I've seen some content providers breeze through who the free agents are, and they mention a few things, and then they're on to the next thing, like whatever's more important than the roster, the coaching search. Well, I have a video about that, and you know my feelings about it. So let's look at something that's important. We're going to look at the free agents for the Saints, and then we're going to look at the roster, and we're going to see where the problems lie and what really has to be addressed this offseason. Let's pull up the unrestricted free agents first. Now, altogether with unrestricted free agents, restricted free agents, and exclusive rights free agents, we have 23 players that are not on this roster anymore. And I've got a few highlighted here because it's a, position of need. Big time. So starting with quarterback Jameis Winston. He's our number 2 quarterback. He's gone and probably not going to be re-signed. So do you go into the season with Taysom Hill and Jake Haener as your backup quarterbacks, or do you address quarterback? You're going to need a backup. Derek Carr got hurt a bunch this past season, so who's going to be your number 2? If Taysom's still on the team, he's going to be playing that slash role, and he's not going to be prepared to come in as the backup quarterback. So you're looking at Jake Haener as your backup. Yeah, not quite sure about that. So do you address it in the draft? Maybe. But a rookie isn't going to come in and, and be, somebody, if he's good, yes, but somebody that you can depend on to come in and start a few games while Carr's out or something like that. So, that's the thing you got to look at here. Do we address quarterback by signing another free agent? Do you take another, a chance on another rookie? You've got Jake Haener here, a year under his belt, minus the suspension games. So, I think losing quarterback Jameis Winston, the player himself, not a big deal for me. I think we can upgrade at backup quarterback with another free agent. I was never sold on Jameis as our quarterback. He's not the same style as Derek Carr. He's not the kind of quarterback that's going to run that offense we were running. What kind of offense we're going to run in the future, I don't know. We'll see. My money's on it's going to be the Sean Payton system. Derek Carr is your quarterback. We need a backup. Jameis is no longer on the team. At running back, Eno Benjamin, who spent almost, I think the entire year on IR. So when we pull up the roster in a minute, we're going to see the current state of these, positions, and then we'll know for certain if a position is lacking in a number of players, not just trying to improve at each position player to player. So at wide receiver, we come up with this issue. On the roster, we've only got 2 players right now. 2. Yeah, I'd say we need some wide receivers. Looking at Michael Thomas highlighted right here, he's a good wide receiver and went into the season as a starting wide receiver for us. So I think wide receiver is a kind of a need. It's a glaring need when you look at Keith Kirkwood also being an unrestricted free agent, and Rashid Shaheed and Lynn Bowden Jr. being exclusive rights free agents. Now, that means we'll probably the exclusive rights guys will probably be able to re-sign pretty easily, rather cheaply. So I expect to have Rashid and Lynn Bowden back. But Michael Thomas, Keith Kirkwood are gone. Do we re-sign either one of them? I'm thinking Thomas is gone. Keith Kirkwood is always an option, but I'd like to upgrade at wide receiver, especially, the bottom three. The top three are okay. A.T. Perry, 6th-round pick. If we re-sign Rashid, and we will, he's an undrafted guy, and then you got Chris Olave. So re-sign Lynn Bowden, yeah, that gives you 4 on the roster. And you can go ahead and re-sign Keith Kirkwood, but I would actually try to improve there. We're talking about an undrafted guy and a 6th-round pick. That's your backup starting wide receivers. So I think if you address wide receiver early in the draft, you can get an upgrade there. We're going to miss Michael Thomas. Tight end, Jimmy Graham. Yep, he's gone. He's not coming back. I've got Andres Pete highlighted. He was a starter at left tackle. You've also got Cameron Irving, that's a free agent, and he was starting right tackle in the last game. So Andres Pete's a piece, I don't want to overpay him. He's trying to get in on some of that tackle money now, and he was our starter, and the O-line performed adequately toward the end of the year. So Andres Pete's a guy we may want to re-sign. And at guard, you're talking about another starter in James Hurst. Not the greatest player, but the ideal number 6 offensive lineman. James Hurst can start in a pinch. He started the entire season at left guard. I think the first couple of games he was featured at left tackle when Penning got sat. I think Hurst was our left tackle for one game, and then we made the switch with Pete. Something like that. Hurst is valuable as a 6th offensive lineman. But he was our starter at left guard, and our immediate backup at left guard was Max Garcia. And he's a free agent now, too. So we finished the year with Andres Pete and James Hurst as our starting left side of the offensive line. And you can get better at both of those positions. Now both your starters are free agents. And right before the season started, our veteran guards that we had in place were Max Garcia, and we also had Tommy Kramer. And we had the draft pick in Nick Saldiveri. And we were still so concerned with guard that we signed Trey Turner right before training camp really got going. And Trey Turner, is a former Pro Bowler, high draft pick and stuff like that. We were trying to get better at guard. And then Turner got hurt right out of the gate at the first practice. And we ended up going into the season with Tommy Kramer and Max Garcia as our primary backups. And, we were trying to improve that spot before the season started. So I think that's another spot we're going to try to improve here. At the very least, consider re-signing Max Garcia and James Hurst for sure. Maybe Turner's got some more. Maybe he'll re-sign with us too. The position of need, guard, in my opinion, for sure. You're going to have to address it, but at least re-signing Hurst or Garcia. At least Turner. And then you're looking at drafting because you need you want a player better than Hurst to be your starter for sure. Maybe we address it in free agency beyond these players. Defensive tackle, Malcolm Roach. He's such a good player. He's a good piece. He'd be a great number 4 defensive tackle for this team. And I'm interested in re-signing Roach for sure. Defensive end, Kyle Phillips. Well, we've got players at defensive end. There's a chance we re-sign him to some minimum and he ends up on our practice squad again. At linebacker, Zach Bond, Ty Summers. Both of them were on the 53-man roster to start the season. Bond finishes the year as a defensive end for us. That Sam linebacker spot, we don't play a lot. But when we do, Zach Bond was our starter. He's a free agent. I don't want to spend a lot of money on him. And we are interested in upgrading at edge rusher. We're going to need a starting Sam linebacker, whether we use that position a lot or not. So Interesting piece there, Zach Bond. I wouldn't pay him more than $3 to $4 million a year. After what he's shown he can learn linebacker. He can play there. We don't use it a lot. He can be a starter if we need to. He's a great special teams player. And as a situational edge rush piece, could be productive for us if utilized properly. But I don't think Bond's going to demand much more than $3 million a year from somebody else. So that's the way I look at that. Cornerback, Isaac Yiadom, Ugo Amadi. Both of them, I think, very important for this team. Isaac Yiadom ended up starting for us for the majority of the end of the year, 7 games, starting outside corner because Alontae Taylor was being played at nickel. I think going into this season, Alontae will be on the outside again. He'll be your starter. But if you re-sign Yiadom, then you've got that security blanket on the outside in case somebody gets hurt. Paulson Adebo and, in my opinion, Alontae Taylor are both going to be fine on the outside. I think that's a really good starting tandem at cornerback for any team. But you need that piece just in case. And I know that's a reason we remain successful in the secondaries, because we had that contingency, you know. And Yiadom's worth it to me. $4 million, $5 million. I wouldn't go much higher than $6 million. He's got great tape this year for the Saints now. Pass defended every game, you know, and he's a solid player. I know the competition and everything else. I'd really go hard after Yiadom, especially if we're going to plan on trading Marshawn Lattimore. Be good to have an outside piece right there as a backup. And then Ugo Amadi. If you're going to put Taylor on the outside, you're going to need a starting nickel. Amadi was our primary nickel before we tried the run with Taylor. So if Taylor goes on the outside, it'd be nice to have Amadi back. You still need to upgrade at that position for sure. And that may be something we look at in free agency beyond this list. Restricted free agents, you got your starting fullback in Adam Prentice and Andrew Dow, who's a great special teamer and a really good backup linebacker, spot playing linebacker. He knows all 3 positions at linebacker, but he got hurt early this year and was on IR the entire season. We can re-sign him for cheap, and he's a good player. He knows the system, and yeah, every year, starting the year at linebacker, I always pencil in Andrew Dow as a necessary piece, a primary backup at any of the positions, and a really good special teams player. So I expect us to sign both Prentice and Dow. And then the exclusive rights free agents, Rashid Shaheed is a must. And, you know, you resign him, probably, you know, I guess these exclusive rights, they can be pretty cheap. You can give him some sort of an extension and up the pay. I think Rashid's obviously played himself into a bigger contract than a undrafted rookie contract. But I also don't want to pay him like he's one of the top receivers in the league, because he's not. He's a great player, and I think any team would trade for him. Any team would love to have him. We have him. We have exclusive rights, and we have the opportunity to retain him for cheap, and that's probably what we're going to do. But if he wants to sign a 2 or 3 year deal, I wouldn't pay him more than $5 million a year. He just hasn't earned it yet. He's not a 1,000-yard receiver. He's a Pro Bowl kick and punt returner. But yeah, let's pump the brakes on that. We're going to retain him, and he is a special player. So whatever has to happen. And Lynn Bowden, like I said, I love the versatility. I love the fact that he's a great teammate, and, you know, he's got experience. He's played quarterback, played running back, so he can do a lot for us as a backup wide receiver. I do want to get better on the back end at the wide receiving position. But Lynn Bowden's a great piece to start with. You know, and if you can add pieces later and get better, great. And P.J. Mustipher, who we picked up late in the year and was on our roster. Also, Shemar Jean-Charles, a cornerback, who was very briefly on our team here at the very end. And he's an exclusive rights guy, too. So those are your free agents. And that's the list. Some people pull them up, they breeze through it, and I wanted to kind of focus on it. And now that we've had a chance to look at this list and talk about it, we're going to pull up the actual roster and see where we're at right now. And we're going to start with the offense. And these are your guys. By my count, we have 54 players under contract. And you know how it is. I think we have 90 players going into training camp and into preseason. So we're talking about 36 players that we can add to the team, the 23 free agents. So, yeah, 36. We can add 36 players. Re-sign a bunch of the free agents. Let's look at these positions. Quarterback Derek Carr, Taysom Hill, Jake Haener, we talked about it. We need a backup quarterback. Best case scenario, you can draft one late because this team is not going to draft one early. You can draft one late, and then he can compete with Jake Haener to be that backup. And then you still got your veteran Taysom. So if an emergency happens and you have to pull up Haener or the other young guy, that's okay because the next week we can have Taysom Hill practice as the starter and be our starter. You can go that route, or you can just go get another veteran backup quarterback. You know, somebody like Trevor Siemian. Don't judge me for saying that. I'm saying a type like Andy Dalton, who's expected to be a backup, but who's a veteran who can come in and do the job for a couple of games if need be. So that's your options there. But quarterback has to be addressed in some way. I don't think you just go into the season with Carr, Hill, and Haener. At running back, it's a different situation. We all know we want another running back on this team, but as long as Kendre Miller's healthy and Jordan Mims and James Robinson are there, especially Robinson with the veteran experience, you know, you've got yourself 5 running backs right here. It's not a screaming need when you look at the roster as it is right now. Everyone under contract. Yeah, Alvin Kamara's probably going to, he may be questionable to stay on the team. You know, we're trying to move pieces, get younger. Kamara, I think you just have to ride out the rest of his contract with him. He's too expensive to let go. He's too old to move for a really good draft pick, I think. And Kamara still has enough in the tank for a couple more years for sure. So as far as running back goes, I'm disappointed in Williams. Miller's going to be your primary backup if he stays healthy. You just don't know. James Robinson is an option. Jordan Mims was with us pretty much all year on our practice squad. So, yeah. Maybe you sign a veteran free agent that's not too expensive. Someone half as expensive as Williams. Maybe compete with Williams, or, you know, you draft one. Fullback, we don't have one. We need one. Probably re-sign Adam Prentice. Wide receiver, there you go. That's the only ones. Chris Olave, A.T. Perry. You know you're going to get Rashid Shaheed back. Probably going to get Lynn Bowden Jr. back. Now, that makes 4. You typically run with 5, maybe 6. So, do we get Davis back? Shaq Davis? Do we re-sign him? He'll probably be re-signed by the Saints and put through training camp again. We'll probably want to keep him on the practice squad if he doesn't make the roster. Same thing with the, what's his name? Kirkland? John Trey. Yeah. He'll probably be re-signed too and be part of training camp. You know, and then, of course, there's still the option with Marquez Callaway, whether you want to go grab Traquan Smith off of Denver's practice squad or whatever. But as of now, there's 2 wide receivers on this team. So I think you need an X player, a bigger player. I think you need to draft one, somebody who can come in and compete with your 6th-round pick, A.T. Perry, to take Michael Thomas's place. Or you go get a veteran who can play that role. And I think that's a necessity. But I would also like to get a wide receiver who's really good with the ball in his hands, somebody with some yak potential. Chris Olave doesn't have that. Rashid Shaheed has pure speed, but he doesn't show a lot of imagination running with the ball. He really doesn't. And, of course, A.T. Perry. He's a six-round guy. He shows a lot of promise, but 12 catches and all of a sudden we think he's a starting X? No. He's got to show a lot more than that. So wide receiver is a big need for me. I could address it twice. If you get a free agent that sticks, you can also address it in the draft. Tight end, no more Jimmy Graham, but Tommy Hudson and Michael Jacobson, that's on the practice squad. So, not a screaming need, but I would really like a pure tight end who's athletically better than Morrow. That's what I would like. I would like Morrow to be our emergency number 2, but basically our number 2, number 3 guy. And we needed somebody else to go in there and compete with Juwan Johnson. A true tight end, a good blocker, good receiver. I wouldn't want to draft one high in the draft. Of course, Brock Bowers falls to you. It's always an option, but after the first round, not many tight ends screaming. You get a body. Like I said in another video, Lucas Kroll was pretty exciting for the Saints fans before he ended up in Denver. So, and then your offensive line, and I've already talked about guard. I think that's a huge need. Cesar Ruiz is fine. Nick Saldiveri's a draft pick, and he can be a decent swing backup. Tommy Kramer's a good veteran. That's not who you want starting. You re-sign James Hurst, and you'll be okay. But you need to get better than James Hurst at guard. He's not strong enough. He's not good enough in the run game. He's just okay in pass pros. So, I think left guard's a serious consideration. Your backup right guard is a guy named Colby Gossett, who just ended up on the practice squad before the season ended. So if Nick Saldiveri turns out to be a decent guy, he can be your swing guard and center backup. Is he going to be good enough to start at left guard? Probably not. And I don't want to start the year with Tommy Kramer. And if we re-sign Max Garcia, I really don't want to start with him either. If you re-sign James Hurst, he'll be your starter until you upgrade. And I think you can upgrade even with a second-round pick or a third-round pick in the draft. You can upgrade from Hurst. Hurst is a good number 6. You don't want him starting at guard, and definitely not at left tackle. And, yeah, that's your left tackle right now as far as things go. Trevor Penning's your starter, and that's not going to happen. We already know this. Mark Evans is an undrafted guy from this year. He stuck around on the practice squad. We paid him a lot of money to get him as an undrafted guy. And so let's see if Mark Evans can turn a corner. I doubt he's going to be our starting left tackle. So Ryan Ramczyk, Landon Young at right tackle. Landon Young can play left tackle. I don't want none of those guys, Young, Evans, or Penning, starting at left tackle. So you re-sign Andres Pete, and then you have yourself a mediocre left tackle. That's kind of your option right now, unless you address it and address it early in the draft. The best 2 left tackles in the draft will be gone by the time we draft at pick 14, and all the other better tackles in the draft are right tackles in college, so you're going to have that transition, whether they can do it or not, or you can take a chance on a pure left tackle in the draft. Those guys have more of a lower first-round grade, upper second-round grade, so addressing left tackle in the draft is going to be tricky. You could try to spend a lot of money on it in free agency to get yourself a veteran there. And Ryan Ramczyk, he says he's going to be okay. He says he's not retiring. He says he's going to be good to go next year, and I just don't trust it. So offensive tackle, high red alert position of need. And I think left guard's right there, too. So, yeah, re-signing Andres Pete and James Hurst almost seems like a necessity. And we need to get better than those players. So, Okay, that's your offense right there. Let's pull up the defense. And we're going to start with the highlighted left defensive end. Cameron Jordan is not the way of the future. Okay, we've always been trying to get that right defensive end to complement Cameron. Now we need someone to replace Cameron. When you look at the defensive ends, we got a lot of bodies. It's not like we need to go and draft one because we don't have enough decent talent here. Carl Granderson, Cameron Jordan, Tano Passanio, Peyton Turner, Isaiah Foskey, Nico Lalos. I wouldn't mind having Lalos as a number 4 guy. But we've been keeping 5 defensive ends lately. I wouldn't mind him as a 5 guy. It's Isaiah Foskey being a second-round pick. You know, this is one of those where we're going to ride this as long as we can. We're not going to just cut him loose and say, nope, didn't work. But as of right now, Lalos is a better player than Foskey to me. And Peyton Turner, you know, he has 1 year left. So can he stay healthy? I mean, he looks good whenever he's on the field. He's just never on the field. So I think you have to get better at left defensive end. And I don't know if an edge rusher, one of those tweeners in the draft, can come in and take Cameron Jordan's place. So when I say we need to address defensive end, I don't mean go and draft Jared Verse or Latu or Turner, which are, you know, Dallas Turner, which your first overall number 14 pick. I mean, too small. I don't know if they can do what Jordan did, you know. But yeah, we need to address it. And we need to address it in a way that's going to make it better than Cameron Jordan. Which means you're going to have to hit real good in the draft, or, and this is the popular thought, this is where your free agency money goes. You go and find yourself a defensive end, a starting veteran defensive end. You pay a lot of money to get him. You bring him in here, and he's going to be your starter, opposite Carl Granderson. That's a shame, but that's the way it's going to go. What are you going to do? If you get a good edge rusher, is he going to take Granderson's place? Granderson is the guy with the Pro Bowl numbers this past season, not Cameron Jordan. And Cam just signed that 2-year deal and basically going to guarantee he retires a Saint. You can't cut him. It's going to cost $30-something million to do that. So that's wild, huh? Cameron Jordan being a backup or just a part-time player. Yeah, that's the way this is going to end up going, in my opinion. We're either going to draft a guy pretty high or we're going to sign someone to a big money contract. And if Cameron Jordan's out there on first and second down against the run, that's fine. But this other guy's going to come in on third down because we have to get better at rushing the passer. And 2 sacks by Cameron Jordan is not what we're looking for in a starter. Tano Passanio's great. We got him 1 more year for $1.5 million, and he's a great piece. I love having him. And yeah, if Peyton Turner turns out healthy and okay, and like I said, we're not cutting loose Isaiah Foskey. We have bodies here. So, all right, defensive tackle. Nathan Shepard was okay this year. Brian Bresee and Nathan Shepard as a combo was okay. You know, those are your 3-tech guys. And then the big nose tackle type, Colin Saunders, nothing to write home about. Sorry, great player. Love him. And fullback and all that stuff. Love it. We just wasn't very good against the run. And that is a reflection on Shepard and Bresee as well. A guy named John Penasini. He was on our practice squad, and he's on the roster right now, along with Jack Heflin. We mentioned the free agent Malcolm Roach, who would be a great sign here. And if you get Malcolm Roach, then you've got your 4 players from last year: Shepard, Saunders, Bresee, Roach. That's what you went in with this season, and that's what you can go in with this season. But you need to get better. You've got Saunders and Shepard under contract for at least 2 more years. Bresee is your star, but you can get better here. I think if Malcolm Roach had a chance to play, let's say Malcolm Roach instead of Nathan Shepard, I think Roach could be just as effective as Shepard. That's my opinion. I don't think you cut loose Shepard just yet, though. If you can get Roach for cheap, you bring him back. And then if there's a chance to upgrade at defensive tackle, you do it. Whether you draft somebody or whether you get another person in here who ends up beating out one of these veterans. But we're not good enough against the run. And, of course, we don't rush the passer good enough from the defensive tackle position. We never did. Percy's going to be the guy for that. I'm looking at getting a nose tackle, big guy at defensive end. At defensive tackle and competing with Saunders, trying to get better there. That's my opinion. Of course, if you get a guy that can rush the passer from the defensive tackle position, don't pass him up. He'll take Shepard's place, right? Okay. Linebackers. You don't have a starting Sam anymore. We've got Anthony Orji, undrafted guy from last year, and we've got Ryan Connolly, the veteran. Ty Summers is one of those guys that we could re-sign who can play all along the linebacker core here. And, of course, DeMarco Jackson and Nephi Sewell, we have a lot of faith in, a lot of promise. They showed up well in their second years this year as bit players and as special teams players. Monty Rice is a guy we just acquired right before the season ended. Not sure what we've got with that, but with our starters, Demario Davis and Pete Werner, we're still pretty good. Davis is old. I would love to draft a linebacker who's going to be the heir apparent to Davis. Whether that's Pete Werner going in the middle and we have an heir apparent to Werner on the outside so he can take Davis's place, or whether we get a middle linebacker who can eventually take Davis's place. To me, that's the biggest concern, even above a starting Sam, would be to have a really good linebacker that can come in and play at will or at Mike. Because Davis, even though he's old, is playing out of his mind. And, yeah, I would let Davis start and play out the rest of his contract. I don't know if it's 1 more year, 2 more years. But, yeah, I'd let him play and I'd let him start. And Werner's your guy at will. But I'd still like a really good player. A guy like Jalen Smith, someone like that, a veteran that can come in, that can man Will and Mike would be great. He wouldn't be an all-world player. No, that, versatility, maybe, what's the plus here? You've got guys like that with Nephi Sewell and DeMarco Jackson. Both of them have played Will and Mike. So, interesting position, linebacker. Something you can definitely draft. Something you can definitely get better at with depth. So I think after Werner and Davis, you still need one more good, reliable guy. Whether that's a starting Sam that can bounce around or just a good guy that can play middle and will. That's your linebacker situation. And, yeah, I think you need a starting Sam, of course. And then your secondary, safeties, Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus May, Jordan Howden, Jonathan Abram, J.T. Gray. Not bad. You could re-sign Lonnie Johnson Jr. If you re-sign Ugo Amadi, he is a cornerback / safety. And, yeah, Amadi would be your nickel, so I would love to re-sign Amadi. Lonnie Johnson showed a lot. He was ahead of Jonathan Abram when he was healthy, so would be not a bad situation to get Lonnie back. He's a good special teamer. He can play good at safety, start at safety for you. So, you do that and you're okay at safety, except that Tyrann Mathieu's getting old and Marcus May is, he's not the Pro Bowl type we thought he would be. Jordan Howden can take May's place, I think. And with veterans like Abrams, and if you bring Johnson back and J.T. Gray, you're good at safety, but you just need one more guy. Tyrann Mathieu's getting old, and you really want to replace him. And Marcus May, you kind of want to replace because he's only got 1 year left, and he's 30, and he's not all world type player. Jordan Howden's already here to take one of their places. Howden's your dime right now, and he can take May's place if you get rid of May. But Mathieu's old, and you're going to have to replace Mathieu. probably after this contract is up. So I think you need another safety, but it's not completely desperate as long as you got veterans like Lonnie Johnson, if you re-sign him, and Jonathan Abram. So that's your situation at safety. And of course, at cornerback, Marshawn Lattimore may be traded. And if that's the case, I don't think you replace Lattimore. People keep saying that. If you trade Lattimore, you have to replace him. You have to replace a body on the outside that's good at press man. But you already have your replacement. Paulson Adebo and Alontae Taylor will be your starting cornerbacks if Lattimore's not here. What you need is a nickel. And if Ugo Amadi gets re-signed, he'll be your nickel, and you really need to upgrade at that. Now it's your backup outside cornerbacks that need to be replaced, not specifically Lattimore. Faion Hicks and Rejon Wright. You know, those guys are just practice squad guys. We always have those cornerbacks that never make it on the team that in here, you know, fighting. And in this system under Dennis Allen, the one good thing I could say about Allen is he knows cornerbacks. So I think you re-sign Isaac Yiadom, so you can have yourself depth at outside corner. You won't miss Lattimore. You trade him. You get a first rounder for him, second rounder, whatever you can get for Lattimore. That'll be in the next draft after this one. But I think you do that, especially re-signing Yiadom at that point. And then, you know, you're still going to have to address outside corner. You're still going to have to get better than Hicks and Wright, I'm pretty sure. And that could be done in the mid to late rounds in the draft, or, you know, Bradley Roby or something like that. It's not a huge position of need, in my opinion, if you re-sign Yiadom especially. If you keep Lattimore and you re-sign Yiadom, you're good to go, but you still need a nickel. And that's my focus on cornerback. Your special teamers are Blake Grupe, Lou Hedley, and Zach Wood. That's going to remain. Zach Wood signed an extension last year, and he's probably the best long snapper in football. Grupe and Hedley, that's your guys. You might bring in competition at punter for Hedley, but other than that, yeah, I think you're going to roll. And let's pull up the offense and defense right here on my side real quick, just to say that based on our roster right now, whether we re-sign certain free agents or not, I think your biggest needs are a left tackle. One, you need a starting left tackle, big time. And in my opinion, you need a starting defensive end, left defensive end. You got Cameron Jordan. It's not desperation mode. But yeah, if there's one place you could upgrade, at the very least, you need yourself a rotational piece at defensive end that's going to be better than Foskey. So we're hoping Peyton Turner and Isaiah Foskey can be that guy. Tano's already pretty good. So you go into the season hoping Turner and Foskey's that guy, or do you address it one more time? Yeah, that could be a big free agent splash, getting somebody to come in and play defensive end, to be your true number 3 defensive end. Carl Granderson, Cameron Jordan, and one other guy that's desperately needed. If Peyton Turner and Isaiah Foskey don't work out, you need your starting Sam, linebacker, and like I said, a really good backup. And you hope Nephi Sewell and DeMarco Jackson are those guys. Ryan Connolly's good too, and Ty Summers, if you re-sign him. They all have experience and versatility. So you still would like to get a linebacker. You still would like to get a guy that's not an undrafted, you know, roaming free agent. You would like a guy that you can count on at linebacker for depth. And the nickel corner, without a doubt, that is a must. And in my opinion, backup quarterback is a must. I think you effectively address that with just a veteran free agent. Go get Andy Dalton again. I don't care. Andy Dalton's not horrible as a backup. And One other spot, defensive tackle, like I said, you get Malcolm Roach back in. You still want to upgrade there, but a defensive tackle 4. So yeah, this has been my video on showing you the roster, showing you the free agents. It's a long video, 40 minutes, but everything's there. We've talked about every position. And I will be doing another video shortly about the positions of need for the Saints, and we'll focus on that. We'll completely focus on that. This has been the whole roster as a whole. And yeah, this is where the roots start. So subscribe to Rosenfield 10 for more videos like this, and I will be doing that video, and we're going to be focusing on the positions of need and how to address them. It'll be an extension of this video. And until then, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?